There's just a good value of me being a cash buyer, and they don't have to go through the headache of selling it.
Are you flipping it, or are you doing more seller
I
financing?
mean, I had a full-time job up until I was doing a lot, like multiple properties a year, and then I went and sold it again for 37,000. So in total, I'd grossed 58,000 off of it.
Pogatchnik is the founder of Sell the Earth, where he's flipped over 100 land deals in a single year, attracted over 300,000 social media following, and now he's helping others do the same through his land investing program.
Last year I did a little bit over 100. The year before that I did a little bit over 50. The year before that was like around 25, 30. Like I've always wanted to start a business, do stuff on my own, basically. And best way to make money, I think, is real estate.
So I'm curious, as most investors are chasing doors, you're ultimately chasing dirt. What do you know that they don't?
Yeah. So I started off in just like traditional real estate. I started when I was in college. I wanted to learn more about investing and buying rentals. So I had reached out to one of my counselors just to connect me with somebody who was in real estate. And it connected me with somebody who was doing flips and rentals and sub two and all like those regular types of real estate. And I really liked it. And there was a duplex that I wanted to buy. And I went to put an offer in on it, and we couldn't get to the right price. Basically, like they wanted 5,000 more than I wanted to pay, and that was a lot to me when I was in college. So we ended up not closing on it. But then I just kept looking at other deals, and then I came across a piece of land that wasn't necessarily an investment that I was looking at, but it was more just for myself. I wanted something. So I'm from Minnesota originally. I live in Las Vegas now, but this piece of land, it was about an hour from my house, and it was 2.5 acres on a lake. And
Right.
it was listed for 25 grand. I saw it on Facebook, and that's a good price overall for like waterfront.
Right.
But the guy was from California. You might,
Uh,
yeah, you maybe know him, but no, it was he didn't want it. So I was able to talk him down to $9,000 on the property, and I bought it. And my goal was kind of just to use it for like on the weekend, like go to the property and go camping, or I can go on the lake or whatever. I just wanted to pull a camper onto the property. And I found out from zoning that I wasn't able to do that after I bought it. There was a minimum of 1,200 square feet to build on the property for the zoning ordinances.
Interesting.
So I ended up selling the property, and I sold it first time on seller financing, which is what I do a lot with my business now,
Okay.
is seller financing contract for deed. So I collected like 13,000 off of that over a few months, and then the person defaulted on it. They didn't want the property anymore. I think they got divorced, the people that bought it, so they just didn't want the land anymore. And then I went and sold it again for 37,000. So in total, I had net grossed 50,000 off of it. So I netted
Oh,
about 40,000, and I was like, wow, this is a really great investment vehicle compared to like the other stuff I was doing in real estate.
right.
So like the flips and the rentals. So I was like, let's try to do this some more.
How did you get to that first when you mentioned on the seller financing of the 13, I think you said you made on the first one. How did you get to that 13 so quickly? Because it doesn't sound like they were seller financing for very long. Did you get a big down payment?
Yeah, it was a bigger down payment, and then a few months of payments added up to that amount.
Amazing. That's crazy. And in the end, it was probably easier for whatever was going on with that couple for them to just be like, here, walking away if they tried to. Yeah, that's crazy. And I guess at that point anyway, could have they gone and tried to sell it and pay you off, but it would have been hard based on probably finance terms, I'm guessing?
Yeah, yeah, so they could have done that, but it's just I don't know. It was my priority, I guess, compared
Yeah.
to the amount that they would have got back from selling it
No, that
versus
makes sense. That's fascinating. You
defaulting.
you you made their lives easier at that point, I mean, for being able to do that. That's amazing. So then at that point, what was next for you? You know, if you're like, "Whoa, this is crazy. I can make a living doing this." Like, then what did you do?
Yeah, so simultaneously, I was just finishing college, so I went and got a regular job, and that was like my main income source. And I was still doing the other types of real estate, so I wasn't like doing the flips on my own. I was working for this investor, but
Okay.
that's how I was learning a lot of like real estate. Like
Yeah.
that's how I knew about seller financing and all that. So I was doing all that, but I was like, land seems like a really good way to make money because I made so much off of that flip. So then I went out and I just started looking for other properties that I thought were undervalued, and repeating the process. The one thing that I forgot to mention for that first one, I did put a gravel driveway into it,
Okay.
and I cleared out a little area where I thought I was going to put the camper in. So that only cost me about $1,000 because I did it myself.
But they could
Um,
see the vision then.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing I bring into my business now is kind of this like those really simple improvements that you can make to vacant land that help increase the value. Because exactly like you're saying, when somebody can kind of get the vision of driving into the property and imagining like, oh, this is where we're going to put our cabin, or this is they can actually see the lake. They get to see the lake frontage. It really helps with increasing the value and selling it.
That's
What
awesome.
qualifies as undervalued? Like, what do you look for that then qualifies a land as undervalued for you? If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, be sure to click on the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on the bell. It lets YouTube know you want to support the This Is the Way podcast, and it helps spread the word, and we greatly appreciate it. And now, back to the episode.
Yeah, so it's just comping land. So figuring out like what the value is of it is the same as other types of real estate. It's just you're comparing different things. So like if you're comping a house to figure out what it's worth, you're looking at other stuff that's sold on the market with like the same bedrooms, the same square footage, those type of things. It's the same thing you do with land. It's just
Yeah.
instead of that, you're looking at the size of the property, the zoning uses for the property. What is it? Farmland? Is it wooded? Is it residential land? It's the same things. You're just looking at stuff that's on market and figuring out what other stuff is selling for and how much you think that this would sell for.
And you said something else too I want to understand a little bit is you obviously mentioned, as you were going down this pathway, you were intentionally looking for ways to be an investor. It sounds like when you then were working for this individual who was doing some work that was, at least related space. Did you purposely try to target and find individuals like that to work for because you knew this was the path that you wanted to go down, or did it just happen by accident?
Yeah, I mean, I started working for him because I wanted to get into real estate, and he was doing a lot of different things, and he was just somebody good to learn from
Yeah.
because he was actively doing all of it. I mean, like I've always wanted to start a business and do stuff on my own, basically. And
Uh-huh.
the best way to make money, I think, is real estate. So that's why I reached out to him because somebody to learn from.
No, it's awesome. I mean, I think not enough people approach their careers or future, however you want to say, that way. Instead, I think oftentimes, it is that route of okay, off to university to study something that you think you want to do, but you really don't know. But then you get committed to it, and then you come out, and then you're like, well, I should probably keep giving this a go. But oftentimes, some of those routes mean starting somewhere where you're far from, I'd say, that engagement that you can get with the movers and shakers in the company, the leaders, whatever it is. There's often so many layers. So I really like your approach. My neighbor here was saying for the way he's trying to do that now is he's got kids that are just getting out of high school. And he's like, no, anything that they want to do and explore, he's like, he wants them to go and work for somebody for at least 3 months doing that to decide if they still want to go down that pathway. So anyway, I think the way that you did it is really smart because a lot of people could have spent a lot of time wasted. Like some people would be like, I got to go and spend all the time just saving the money. Whereas I'm sure when you work with somebody like that, you also start thinking creatively about the creative finance and probably even about how you raise funds instead of just thinking about how you save enough, for your own. Am I making
Mhm.
good assumptions?
It's the old school apprentice model.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
feels like a lot of people don't take advantage of anymore. I don't know why, because I think it definitely is tested. So why not?
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah, to add on top of that, I think doing that really helped me learn. But then I had a regular job for a couple years,
Okay.
and that really helped just to one, it helped me with learning as well, because I think if I just went straight into real estate, I wouldn't be able to scale up my business as methodically as I do,
Yeah.
because my job was a RevOps consultant. So like I did a lot with revenue operations and
Okay.
creating the SOPs and everything. So
Yeah.
I think I did learn a lot of that I helped to integrate into real estate. And
Especially the
I tell a
structure.
lot,
It sounds like too. Yeah.
yeah, I tell a lot of people if they're going to get into real estate, like don't quit your job right away, because it's a good way to help supplement your income meantime, and then two, it's like especially for younger people, it's a good just to learn what it's like to have a corporate type job. Now you can integrate that into your real estate business.
Yeah. Or for some people learn why they don't want to stay in that type of job forever, which motivates them even more towards
Yeah.
other things. But Art and I both come from corporate world, so no, it's got its great. I mean, as you just were mentioning with SOPs, that like the process, the things that we learned through that, amazing and great for us. And it's a big difference when we talk to entrepreneurs now, where you see those who might not have had that background are sometimes inundated by like scale. Everything else is a little bit harder, whereas sometimes in an organization like that, you're doing it on a regular basis. So on that scale note, you've now done this with how many properties?
Last year I did a little bit over 100. The year before that I did a little bit over 50,
Wow.
and the year before that was like around 25, 30, something like that.
Okay.
So basically I've been doubling every
Doubling,
year.
yeah.
That's been my goal. And the way I'm able to do that is just because it's a cash heavy business. So like everything I'm doing, it takes money to buy it. So as I make more profit, I'm able to scale up and buy more properties. And
Right.
I just keep reinvesting every year. So this year I probably won't double, but that's just because I bought some more expensive
Okay.
properties. So instead of like the number going up in total, it's just bought some more expensive things.
Okay, got you. Well, for you, where do you still have like specific states or areas that you like to shop in?
Yeah. So like just kind of like a going back one step on like overall the type of land
Okay.
that I buy. There's a lot of different ways that you can do land, vacant land. I like to focus on residential, rural, recreational land. So land that's going to be used for like cabins, lake properties, hunting land, camping properties, stuff like that. Usually it's 1 to 3 hours outside of a major city, and it's going to be used for like mostly those recreational purposes, but also some residential. So some people, you can build houses on it, or you can move a mobile home on it, or you could live off grid on it. So that's the type of land I focus on, instead of stuff that's in the city, because when it's in more of like in the city more, it's usually the lots are there's less variation on price. So it's a little bit harder to get them at a lower price. And then it's also harder to sell them because you have to find somebody who wants to build in them. There's really only one use case, which is building on those properties. Like you can't have all these other use cases. So you have to find somebody who wants to buy that property. Plus they also want to spend the hundreds of thousands to actually build on the property too. So your buyer pool is pretty small. With
Yeah.
the land that I sell, I could sell it to somebody who wants to build a cabin or they want to build a house. Maybe they just want to pull their RV on it and go camping. Maybe they don't want to do anything. They just want to use it for hunting. Maybe they have a mobile home and they want to move their mobile home onto the property and live on it. They can do that. I saw a lot of people live off grid. So there's a ton of different use cases, which makes it, I can sell it to more people and it makes it a lot easier to sell. So that's kind of the land that I focus on is more the unrestricted land because it's just easier. And also you get a little bit better spread percentage wise on it because I can buy it cheaper, but still mark it up to a higher price.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. And then are you normally doing, are you flipping it or are you doing more seller financing?
Yep. So what I do is I buy it. So I don't wholesale it actually. Majority of the time I'll buy it outright. So it goes under my name and then I sell it. So I buy it with cash because it's hard to get financing on the deals when you're not actually building on the property. So I buy it with cash and then I sell it either for cash or I'll do the seller financing model where somebody gives me a down payment. And instead of, it's like, let's say if they're going to buy it from me for $30,000, instead of them bringing me $30,000 cash to close, they'll give me $3,000 and then $500 a month until that's paid off, plus interest on like an amortization schedule.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And do you find they're pretty good about not defaulting or is there a decent default rate?
There's a pretty good default rate, but the nice thing about that is it depends on the state if you're doing a contract for deed or do you have trust or the way that you structure it. But basically every state has the contracts and the paperwork of how this process goes. And if somebody defaults on it, it's really easy to get the property basically because your name still stays on title for it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're just deeding over the property to them and then just like hoping that they pay you. It's when they default, there's a very straightforward process you go through to get 100% of the rights to the property back. Plus, you get to keep all the money that they paid on it so far
Great.
too.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a bad thing really for
Yeah.
me when somebody defaults on it because I get
It's
to
a good
sell the
thing.
property again. Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, the default rate doesn't matter too much to me.
Okay. No, and I was actually curious because I see the benefit to it when it happens. I mean, obviously none of us wish that upon anybody, but when it does, you're protected is basically where I was going with it. And it actually is only upside for your business. So love that. And are there any go ahead, Art.
I was just going to ask, what's kind of the average kind of value of these deals?
Yeah, so I like to get target stuff where I'm selling it under $50,000. That's like 80% of my like bell curve is going to be I'm selling under 50,000.
Okay.
There'll be some where like the nice like premium like front properties that are in the six figures, but most of them are in under that 50,000. And the reason why is they just sell faster. It's the same with like luxury real estate. $1 million house, no matter how nice it is just going to sit on the market longer than a $300,000 house. It's the same thing with land. So if it's under 50,000, I can sell it faster. And yeah, that's what I look for.
I'm curious too, as you do look at these properties, are there any like states you stay away from, or is anything fair game?
Yeah. So like living in Las Vegas, I don't really do anything in Nevada for the most
Yeah.
part, just because with these type of properties like the recreational rural, nobody really wants to drive an hour outside of Las Vegas and have their cabin there because you're in the middle of the desert. So basically, I'll do it anywhere where it makes sense to have rural properties. So a lot of stuff like out east or southeast or like the West Coast or the Midwest.
Yeah.
Basically everywhere except for the out west where there's this desert.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because you look at like Yucca Valley out near, Joshua Tree. That one's really boomed with the land out there, which just shocked me still because I'm like, oh my gosh, like you can't even get water half the time. It's a place out there, you got to pipe it in. But I also know that there with the national park, that one's probably a little bit of a exception to it.
Mhm. Yeah, there has to be a reason to go to the property. So that's like one of the things I look for. The big three things are the price. So I have to be able to get it at a good price. The zoning's the next big thing. So the zoning has to be mostly unrestricted where it allows all these different things, the camping, tiny houses, Airbnb. And then the third thing is like the physical attributes. So like one has to be within that 1 to 3 hours of a major city because that's going to be your buyer's market. And then it also has to be a reason. So it's usually going to be like a wooded type property. Like nobody really wants to go camp in the middle of a farm field or in the desert. And then there also has to be a reason for them to go there. So like, what are they doing there? Is there a lot of land for them to go hunting on? Is there lakes nearby for them to go for recreation, fishing? Is there a national park nearby? So like there has to be a reason for somebody to go to that property.
Sure. That makes sense. Do you ever have folks make improvements on it and then default?
Yeah. I just went up yesterday to a couple properties that defaulted and I looked them over to get them ready to list again. And one person cleared out entrance and the other person put in like a nice gravel driveway. So
No. Okay.
yeah,
Nice
bonus
upside.
on top of the money.
Yeah, exactly. And now when you mentioned some of the improvements you do in your own, I know you mentioned that driveway. Do you ever go further with like septic or water or electrical, or is it just not worth the cost for you?
Not usually, unless it's a really nice lakefront property, like the premium ones. Sometimes it can make sense to do those things, but majority of the time, it's not worth you're not going to get the return on it for the cost. The one thing I've done a couple tiny houses, and those tend to actually pay off, like the cost for them, just because they sell a lot faster too when you have a tiny house on it that's ready for somebody to use. So
Yeah.
that's the one. That's just like a whole nother business though. If you're going to start developing, so
Of course. If you get into that, let me know. That's the part. No, I get excited about.
I back in the days, I knew someone that was looking for a land to buy large enough to do some outdoor like music festival type events.
Nice.
I have no idea where that happened, but I'm curious. Have any of your buyers come and say, "I need land to looking for zoning for music festivals"?
I haven't had anybody ask for a music festival. I get a lot of people that ask for other thing. A lot of people ask about like animals. A lot of people want to have like a farm, but I mean most of the time I try to find land that's the least restrictive possible, so it has the most use cases because then you can sell it to most people.
How are you finding these deals or the land in general?
Yeah. Majority is off market. So reaching out just to landowners and asking if they want to sell, basically. So I do that through public record shows who owns a property, right? And it has their mailing address of who owns it. So I go on and I search for the type of properties that I want. So I filter out like if I'm looking for a certain size, looking for the zoning type, like all the criteria that I have, and then I get my list of this is all the people who own land in this county that like fit my criteria, and then I'll send them direct mail. So I'll mail them and I'll ask like, hey, do you want to sell your property? And some people do. So that's how I buy them.
That's awesome. Sounds so straightforward. Did you ever find anything off the traditional resources like the Zillows or whatever else of the world?
Yeah. So the other two ways that I buy it are sometimes I'll buy stuff on market. So that's like one of the systems that I have set up is just sending out a bunch of lowball offers, basically, the stuff that hits my criteria. And occasionally some of those will hit from on market. And then I also do tax auctions, tax foreclosure auctions. And again, those don't hit as often. It's just kind of like every once in a while you'll find a deal.
Yeah. Interesting. And then the ones when you are doing the cold reach out, they're or the mail, however you want to say, in those cases, is it usually a profile once more of like a certain size and you know that market would not be above X price? Like you have certain things that get you to limit where you're doing your targeting?
Yeah. So the big thing is I look for like those three things: the zoning, the location, and the price. And then a lot of land is done at a county level because that's where the zoning is the most restrictive for the most part, is the county's zoning, as long as you're not within the city. So I'll do research to figure out which counties have good zoning. And those ones are the ones that I go and filter down from there. Like the size is big. I tend to stick to smaller properties just because once you get to bigger properties, prices become more normalized again, because it's more of like a price per acre that you're making offers off of. So then you don't have as much a spread on your profit.
Okay.
And also just you have more money invested in the property. So you have a little bit more risk compared to if you buy smaller ones and you do more volume, then you have less risk. Because if one property goes bad, but you have, 20 other ones, then it evens out. But yeah, the nice thing I've never lost money on a deal yet.
Good.
So
Yeah.
and the reason why is I'm pretty safe on like what I offer on properties. So once I've mailed everybody out and they get back to me and we're negotiating, I don't offer more than a third of what I think the market value is. So if I think it's going to sell for 30, like the max that I'll offer is 10. That's the one thing. So it's a third of market value. I don't offer more than the assessed value. So like what the tax assessed value is of the property, because that's usually lower than market value. And then the third thing is I won't offer more than whatever the lowest priced piece of land is in the area on public market. So like if you go on Zillow, whatever the cheapest thing is, I'm not going to offer more than whatever the cheapest thing is, even if the other one is worse than what I'm buying. The reason I do that is because if the worst case scenario, like if I just need to get rid of the property, I can have the lowest price thing on the market and it will still be better than the other properties on the market. So then I can sell it quick. So really safe in what I'm buying.
I like that.
And why, if you're offering 1/3 of the value, why do you think the sellers are agreeing to sell? If they know that if they just put it on the market, they'll get a little more than what you're offering.
Yeah. A part of it is, one, they're avoiding a lot of costs. So, like, they don't have to hire a realtor, which could cost a couple $1,000s. You don't have to pay closing costs, which again can be like $1,000 to $2,000. So right there, it's saving them $5,000 from going and selling with somebody else because I'm just buying it directly from them, cutting out a bunch of middlemen. So they're saving $5,000 there. And then on top of that, there's just a good value of me being a cash buyer, and they don't have to go through the headache of selling it. And a lot of these properties, because they're so cheap, maybe it's worth $25,000 to sell, and I'm offering them like 8. For them to get the 25, now they're losing the money on the middleman, and then they're having to wait the time to go and sell it.
Right.
It's saving them a little bit of time, and a lot of these people, for the few $1,000s more that they're going to get, they just don't want to go through with it.
That's fair, and they're likely already profiting something on it because they likely have had this land for a little bit of time and done nothing with it. So you're also getting them, I think, at that point where they're like, hey, why not? It's a sign he's here. Very interesting. So when you have a property, then how do you go about selling the property?
Yeah, so I have like a funnel of like all the different places that I posted. So there's 27 different ways that I'll market the land. The biggest ones are still going to be the traditional ways. So MLS is big. So this regular listings that goes to Zillow and all the other listing spots. But then also Facebook, Craigslist, early big, email marketing. Those are probably the biggest categories.
Okay.
But on top of that, it's the way that I present the listings. So like if you've ever gone and looked at a piece of land on Zillow before, a lot of the listings are just kind of like a picture of the plat map, like a screenshot, and then there's like a picture from the road and there's like some trees or something, and you have like no idea what you're looking at. I do a lot more than that. So I have really good pictures from the ground. I have drone pictures from above. We have a walkthrough video, so they'll video walking through the property. We have a drone video surrounding it, and then the description is very descriptive in what you can do with the property. And I also integrate that into my marketing. So if the property is zoned that allows for tiny houses with short-term rental, I'm going to advertise that you can do that.
Super smart.
That you can do that, and then on top of that, I also integrate like just the seller financing aspect where, somebody can get into this property for some of them. I do like a $999 down, like $1,000 down, plus like whatever the monthly payment is, $500 a month. And a lot of people weren't even looking for land when they buy it from me because like maybe they're scrolling through Facebook and they're like, wow, like we can have a piece of land that we can pull our camper on,
Right.
and it's only $999 down, and the zoning allows us to go camping and leave our trailer there. So one, they're saving money. They don't have to store their trailer and over winter pay for rental fees or whatnot. They can just put it there. And yeah, I saw a lot of people that just they weren't even
Yeah.
looking, but it makes sense when they see it.
That's fascinating. I hadn't even thought about that. And once more, I love what you're doing. Just like adding the road to start with there for some people is you're helping them see what it is, and it does make you stand out. Because I'll admit, for me, it's like I'm less likely to look at something if there's no visuals or pictures. I mean, it's the same with anything that's being sold anywhere. Obviously, I'm sure for when you have your investing hat on and you're buying a property, you're probably like, those are actually good ones for you to target, the ones without the pictures, because they haven't taken the steps and there's a greater chance for you. But that's really smart, the way that you make it really easy for them to once more visualize what they would be able to do with this property. So
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
so then oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and then like the one last thing is like I make it very streamlined for them. So basically, like as they see all the marketing, there's all the different places that I posted. It directs them to my website, which it has all my listings of the properties that I have for sale, which helps with cross selling a little bit because maybe somebody saw an ad for a property for $20,000. They come to the website and they see one that I have that's like a mile away for $23,000. It's a little bit nicer. So one, I get to sell something that's a little bit more expensive because they come and they see something a little bit nicer than what the cheaper ad is.
Yeah.
So I can help upsell them a little bit.
Mhm.
And then from there, the checkout process is really simple where there's a buy now button for the
Really?
land where they can just hit buy now. And it's a $50 deposit. So they do that, but they enter in their information and then they get emailed the purchase agreement or contract for deed or whatever the legal documents are in the state that they are for them to fill out, and then the instructions to send the down payment or the closing cost, whatever it is that they're paying
Yeah.
for it. So it's a lot simpler for people to buy the land
Oh,
compared to
makes me think of Amazon.
yeah.
Easy. One click buy. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to make it as like simple for them as possible because if you're gonna if today if somebody who wasn't involved in real estate was like, I want to buy a piece of land, you probably think you have to like find a realtor. So you'd go on Google or something, you'd, like hire a realtor or something.
Right.
You wouldn't really know how to do it really. But here it's just I try to make it as simple where they come here, they click buy now, they get emailed the documents to fill out, and then they're done.
That's awesome. Have you found anybody who tries to connect because they're like, this seems too easy? Is it a scam, sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, some people will be skeptical, which I mean makes sense, but just the way our website looks very professional. There's a lot of social proof as well. Like you can look up like real estate's public records, so you can see who owns property. If they want to do the extra due diligence, they can do rather than I'm there to talk them through it, or and team members is there to talk them through it as well.
Because I mean,
For
just
everyone, for everyone watching or listening, what is the website?
I have a bunch, so I'll do it regionally. So, like if I'm doing land in Texas, for example, like the land, I'll have the land. The website would be like a regional website to Texas, because I just help that's one thing. It helps with the trust a little bit more. If somebody were to come to the website and there's 50 different states of property that they can click through, it seems like a big national company compared to one that's regionally based. So
that makes
I
sense.
have a bunch of different.
And you don't tie them together with any sort of a directory or anything like that for anybody?
No, not really.
Because it's not how they shop. Yeah, that's interesting. No, I like that. So then for you, through this process, as you've learned, you not only have all the properties that you mentioned that you yourself have, bought and flipped or seller finance, but you're also helping students do this now as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I didn't tell anybody about it until maybe a year ago, just because I didn't want competition with it.
It's fine. That's right. You're like, nah.
But there's some other people on social media that start talking about land, so I was like, I might as well capitalize a little bit on teaching other people about it. And the other thing is the kind of like the one bottleneck to scaling up is just having more capital to buy more deals, because a majority of the properties I sell are on that seller financing model. So I might get 1,000 down or 5,000 out. Usually it's 1 to 5K down on properties, where then I can go and buy another property. But then in order to multiply that, I have to wait another 6 months to a year to get another amount where I could go and buy another property. So to keep scaling up, more ways to earn revenue that I can go and buy more deals.
Yeah,
it works out. So that's why.
So then if there's anybody here who wants to support more of your deals, but also learn and become one of your competitors, how would somebody find you? And I love the reluctance around it, because it is that thing all the time where no matter what around different things, you're like, oh man, you're going to train people on the best stuff they have. So technically, it could be one of those of where all of a sudden you go to get a deal and you're like, oh dang, this is my student. But I guess you could say good on you for getting here. How would individuals be able to find that offer that you have, or you in general?
Yeah. My website's selltheearth.com. So you can find me there, or on Instagram. I'm Hunter Pogo. But yeah, the nice thing is there's really not that much competition in land, because there's only a few people that do it. And there's a lot of deals out there. And if you're looking at other types of real estate, like traditional houses or whatnot, if you ever been to a real estate meetup before, or a networking event, everybody does houses or flips or wholesaling. And you might meet one person that does land, probably not. So I mean, even if there's a couple, there's a ton of land. I think there's 160 million parcels in the country.
Wow.
And 80 million of those are built on. So about half the country's parcels are built on, but there's another 80 million that aren't built on. And there's a lot of real estate investors who do stuff with only built on properties, and there's basically the same amount of undeveloped land, and there's only a couple people that do land. So yeah, there's a lot of deals out there. I've never had an issue with competition.
Sure. No, that's incredible. Well, I guess if a lot did come out there, all of a sudden, at least all the pieces you have would go up in value, as everybody runs for. Do you ever have anybody come to you and be like, yo, I see you're really good at this. I'm looking for something in this area. Can you find it? And then take that approach to getting your property?
Yeah, I don't really like doing it, just because a lot of people say they want something and they never buy it. So it just usually it wastes time.
On that note, I'm actually curious, when people come in, will buy the piece of land through your site and do the $50 deposit, what's the percentage of people who then follow through after that? Is that they're committed, or actually do a lot of them after that point be like, maybe I got too excited?
I'd say probably about 3/4 of people will actually purchase the property. But that's one reason why I did it as well, is because a lot of people would say they want to buy something, we'd spend time putting the paperwork together, and then they disappear. So,
Yeah.
but
That's
now
all I
at least
wonder.
when they disappear, we get $50 out of it.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't feel for naught. And then at the same time, honestly, it's probably good for their own mental cue because at that point, all of a sudden, if after that they're having like, oh, okay, what do we want to do? Like they still have a chance to change their mind. So it gives them a little bit of a breather room. But
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
and so what's next for you? What is it? Are you going to double again each year and just until you hit thousands of that, or are you like, no, there's a sweet spot, or are you trying to get to a point where you have a certain number? Like, what is your long-term vision?
Yeah. I basically just to keep scaling up. I mean, I don't know any other type of real estate that gives as good of a return as what I'm doing. So I plan on doing it until I find something better, and I haven't found anything better yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, basically just keep improving my business, making it as as streamlined as possible, and just keep scaling up.
And do you have a team now, or are you still, it's mainly you?
Yeah, it's pretty small team. So basically, how I structure it, what I do is I only deal with the acquisition side now, so just talking to sellers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the most important part. If you buy something cheap enough, then you can't lose on it, right? Because if it's like a used car example, if you buy a used car for $500, as long as it runs and drives, like somebody's going to give you $500 for it just to have a running and driving car.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with land. Like if I buy the land cheap enough, no matter what, somebody will buy it from me because it has those usability aspects of it, whatever they are. So that's what I focus on is just the actual buying side. Once I've purchased the property, I hand it off to my team. So I have two VAs right now. I had three, now I have two, but they're good. And they basically do all of like the business things. So like they'll do social media, they'll like do the listings, they'll do our websites, they'll whatever it is that they need to do, they'll do that. And then I also have a couple people that sell on commission, basically. So they'll list the properties and sell them. Then they get paid a commission off of selling them.
Nice.
So the main thing that I focus on is just the talking to sellers, getting it cheap enough, handing it off to
Yep.
my team to sell it.
Okay. Do you see yourself eventually handing that piece off to anybody, or is that one that you like handling that piece?
Yeah, I mean, you could hand it off. Like it's not hard to figure out like what's a good price or not, but I kind of need something to do, I suppose. And it's I enjoy it. I like looking at properties, and it's like shopping. Like my job is shopping basically, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
good. Would you no, that's true. I know, right? People love that. You pay for it. Would you ever, going back to said with the mini homes or the Airbnbs, would there ever be a scenario where you'd look at a plot of land and be like, all right, now as you think about, any sort of reoccurring income in the future for you, would you consider building out something like that you treated in that way? Or for you, is it like, no, you just don't want to, you're not interested in holding anything long term in that way?
It's hard to justify because it's like I could hold on to it and make a couple grand a month, or I could just sell it
Or
now and make
yeah.
50 grand and then go and buy another
Do whatever.
property. So
That's fair.
so
No,
it's hard. That's why it's hard to justify keeping
yeah,
stuff.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think, or maybe you are already at AI and how that could potentially help you speed up your acquisition processes, or is that even a possibility?
Yeah. I mean, we try to implement it in like other parts of the business. So like in our website and talking to people and creating social media and everything. So like we use it for that. I haven't the actual like acquisition side is still like pretty old, like the way that we run it, because it's using like direct mail, like mailing people, which is really old form of marketing, and then talking to people on the phone. So we haven't used AI with that. But a big part of that is a lot of the people that we buy from generally are older too, because they bought the property so long ago. And a lot of them like that's why texting doesn't work as good. Just because a lot of like the people don't like older people don't like to text. So to get the best deals, usually it's not from text message. I don't know. How would you use AI? What's your suggestion?
I mean, some of the ways I would wonder in looking at it is again some of the VA related tasks, depending on what those look like. I mean, it depends on if you're getting into things like innate in and leveraging those in those terms of agents. But at the same time, I know people have been using, and I haven't done this myself, but operator as a way to search for things that fit a certain requirement within, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, those sort of things, just to kind of then deliver a list of, priorities that fit your criteria. The other thing I think is around the cold reach out, but if you're doing more of that by mail anyway, there's probably not the key opportunity there. Although there are some really interesting sites out there that will let you test the copy in the ad that's going out, with a variety of different humans before it actually goes out to said humans, which maybe you're already playing with some of that as well now. But those are I guess, a few that popped in my head, Art, and I don't know if there's anything else you think about or have in mind.
No, I was mainly thinking, speeding up and simplifying the research process.
Yeah.
But I say that from more of a naive place, not knowing exactly how the research process works. But that's the only thing that came to mind.
We do actually, that you bring it up. It's we started using it really recently for a lot of the like zoning research aspect
right.
of it. So
That's a good point.
that's yeah, that was a good idea.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Okay, so anybody who's listening to this now and saying, okay, I need to get me some dirt, Sell the Earth is where they could go. Even though right now you're selling the Earth in the US, right? Have you started selling the Earth outside of that?
I've thought about it, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, okay.
So
But
still just America.
yeah, fair. But the rules, do you think they'd be very similar or hard to say?
I mean, I don't see what the difference would be really. I mean,
Sorry.
people need real
All right,
estate
yeah.
all over.
Just in
There
case.
There might be some citizenship requirements.
But yeah, but for the people who are over in those particular countries. So anyway, we won't go down that pathway. Just if anybody's listening now and they're all of a sudden like, I don't know. It's like, I think it sounds like probably 95% of the fundamentals would still be there and be super valuable for them. So they find you there, find you on LinkedIn, and any sort of parting wisdom for anybody here who is thinking about this, but also feeling like, oh, I don't know, is it too time consuming? If they say they have a full-time job or something when they're doing it, would you say, it's not that much time, or what advice would you give them?
Yeah. I mean, I had a full-time job when I started, and I mean, I had a full-time job up until I was doing a lot, like multiple properties a year. So that's not a limiting factor. The biggest constraint for time is the research aspect. So like finding the good markets that you want to buy in with the good zoning and all that. But once you've done a lot of that, the actual time consumption is pretty low because it's you buy the property and then you just get it listed for sale with all the marketing, and you can hire a VA to do a lot of that stuff too. So like it doesn't take much time besides the actual research aspect of it. And I mean, a lot of people in Sell the Earth too. Most of them have full-time jobs and they're doing it with full-time jobs. So I mean, it doesn't take that much time. You just have to have a good, I'd say 5 to 10 hours would be definitely good to get a deal going within, like a month or two, a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got it. Okay. I was going to say a
Yeah.
month or two. Okay, got it. A week. That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
Yeah, because there is time constraints where like you have to wait for the mail to go out. You have to wait for people to call you back. Closing takes a couple weeks because that's just how it's all the wait by real estate. But
The waiting.
yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was gonna say for people to actually get started, I mean, you just have to actually find the market and then just start sending out mail. Or if you don't want to do mail, you can call people. So it's just start talking to landowners that hit those criteria where it's in a good location. It has good zoning. So you've done your research already. You know that it's a good location. You know that the zoning's good in that area. And then you just start talking to landowners and see who wants to sell. And if somebody's interested in selling, go do comps in the area, figure out what stuff is worth, and then just make your offer lower than what you think it's going to sell for. And yeah.
That's great. You had me curious. I'd ask this when you mentioned the VA side of it. As part of when people are in your program and as they scale, have you started offering anything in your program where they could leverage, whether it's your VA or where there's any sort of connection there, or is it usually just go and kind of find the VA that you need? Because it takes time for them to scale to probably the need where they feel like they would need that VA. So I was just curious if you offer any sort of solutions around that.
Yeah. I mean, I offer a lot of things. So VAs are one of those. We have VAs, we train them, and then we also manage them. So like kind of like the remote work thing where, like jiggle your mouse type thing, except we take screenshots of their computer every couple minutes to make sure they're actively working. So we do all that, and then there's $6 an hour. And we give those to the people in the community. Because then they're ready to go. You don't have to like have a minimum. So if somebody only needs them for 5 hours a week to, send some do some social media or whatever it is. That's part of
Yeah.
one of the perks we give.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I don't feel like a lot of programs sometimes, that's not afforded to all. So that's actually great. It removes one more barrier for them. So sweet. I love this. This sounds really interesting. I know Art and I are thinking about land differently than we would have before. As one more strategy, I'm curious for you. Have you looked at bringing investors in to scale yourself, or is that not a model that you like?
Yeah. Yeah, so I do JV with people. It's like joint venture.
Uh-huh.
Because of that, we both own the property and we're both partners on the deal. It's not like an investment that I'm selling. It just makes it a lot easier legally. Instead of having to set up like investments, just we both buy the property.
Okay.
So like they bring the capital and then do the rest of it, and that's our
Yeah.
partnership. So I'll do that with some deals. I don't like doing it, just because I feel a little bit of pressure of needing to sell it like fast. I suppose it's because there's somebody else's money in there. When it's my own capital, like I don't have the stress necessarily as much. So I don't like to do it as much, but I'll do that a little bit. But then I'll connect people with my students as well. So like if somebody does want to invest, my students get a deal, connect people with them to help them with doing deals. So
Yeah.
if anybody is interested in investing but they don't want to do it, they can always joint venture with people.
I love it. That's great. Well, this has been fascinating. I'm going to look at dirt differently now, or any little plot of land that I see. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on.